Ray Milland. The name evokes a particular brand of classic Hollywood elegance. He was the debonair leading man of films like The Major and the Minor, the chillingly sophisticated villain in Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder, and in a performance that would define his career and haunt his family, the desperate, tormented alcoholic writer in Billy Wilder's masterpiece, The Lost Weekend. For that role, he won the Academy Award, a Golden Globe, and the Best Actor prize at the Cannes Film Festival, cementing his place as one of the great actors of his generation. But behind the suave on-screen persona was a man who fiercely guarded his privacy, a man who, alongside his wife of 54 years, Muriel Mal Weber, cultivated an image of domestic stability that was a rarity in the often scandalous world of Hollywood. They were famously dubbed Hollywood's happiest family. But what became of the two children raised within this carefully constructed world? Today, we're diving deep into the poignant and starkly divergent lives of Daniel and Victoria Milland. Their stories are a harrowing exploration of the pressures of a legendary name, the seductive dangers of the Hollywood periphery, and the profound, often tragic disconnect between public image and private reality. This is the story of what happened to Ray Milland's two children, the House of Milland, a foundation of fame and contradiction. To understand the children, we must first understand the world their father built. Alfred Reginald Jones, born in Wales in 1907, was not a man destined for stardom. He was the son of a steel mill superintendent, and after attending college he enlisted in the elite household cavalry of the British Army. For 3 years he was a member of the King's Personal Guard, becoming a proficient horseman and an expert marksman. It was a life of discipline and order. It was only after leaving the military that he stumbled into acting, starting as an extra before a Hollywood talent scout spotted his potential. As Ray Milland, he became a contract player for Paramount Pictures in 1934. He was handsome, charming, and reliable. In 1932, he married Muriel Mal Weber, a USC student. Their union would become one of the longest-lasting in Hollywood history. But it was not without its own hidden turmoil. Publicly, they were the picture of stability. Privately, records show they had actually divorced in 1931 before remarrying in 1934, and even separated briefly in 1938. This early turbulence was smoothed over as Milland's star rose. He became known as a book-loving homebody, a man who shunned the Hollywood party scene for a quiet life. This image of the dedicated family man was a valuable asset, carefully maintained by him and the studio. Into this world of public perfection and private complexity, two children would arrive. Their first child, Daniel, was born biologically. Their second, Victoria, was adopted. And for a time, they were indeed presented to the world as Hollywood's happiest family, a beautiful ideal that would ultimately crumble under the immense weight of reality. And number 2, Daniel Milland, Daniel David. Milland was born into the heart of Hollywood's golden age on March 6, 1940 in Los Angeles. He was the biological son and heir, the Hollywood prince born to a reigning movie king. His childhood was one of immense privilege. His days spent in the family's grand home, his image gracing the pages of movie magazines alongside his famous parents. Photographs show a doting Ray and Muriel helping young Danny with his homework, projecting an image of wholesome, all-American domesticity. In the 1960s, Daniel, like so many children of Hollywood royalty, attempted to step into the family business. He pursued a career in acting, a move his father publicly acknowledged in 1965. He appeared in several minor roles, but his most notable credit is in the 1963 Spanish musical comedy Escala and Hi-Fi. The very fact that his most significant role was in a foreign production, far from the studio system his father commanded, is telling. It may have been an attempt to forge his own identity, or it may reflect an inability to gain a serious foothold in the fiercely competitive American market. The challenge was immense. Ray Milland was a prolific and versatile star, with a career spanning over 120 films. He had worked with the greatest directors of his era. The scale of his father's success created an almost impossible standard. To be Daniel Milland actor was to forever be Ray Milland's son. A comparison that would be constant, and for Daniel, ultimately insurmountable. Any success could be dismissed as nepotism, while any failure was a public falling short of a legendary legacy. The dream of an acting career was brief. By 1966, public records no longer listed him as an actor, but as a salesman in a men's clothing store. It was a stark and definitive end to his artistic ambitions. The decade that followed Daniel's abandoned acting career was a descent into a private hell that tragically mirrored his father's greatest artistic triumph. In 1945, Ray Milland delivered the performance of a lifetime in The Lost Weekend. His harrowing, unvarnished portrayal of Don Burnham, an alcoholic writer spiraling into a vortex of delusion and self-destruction, was revolutionary. It was one of the first times Hollywood had ever seriously depicted the ravages of alcoholism, and it earned Ray Milland the Academy Award for Best Actor. The film was a masterpiece, a monument to his dramatic skill. 2 decades later, his own son was living a grim, real-life version of that celebrated fictional tragedy. Daniel's life began to unravel through a well-documented history of drug abuse. 1966, he pleaded guilty to a charge of heroin possession in Santa Barbara. 1966, in the same year, he was arrested in Ventura County for forging prescriptions to obtain narcotics. These events marked the beginning of a long and public decline. His marriage in 1964 to Cleo. Jeanette Fannin appears to have dissolved amidst this turmoil with no further public records of their life together. By the time of his death, Daniel was unemployed and had difficulty holding a job. His roommates confirmed that he had been drinking heavily and was intoxicated in his final hours. The haunting parallel between the father's art and the son's life is the central tragedy of this story. The father was celebrated, awarded, and revered for portraying the very disease that was consuming his son. It is impossible to imagine the immense and inescapable pain this must have created within the family. A constant public reminder of a private unfolding disaster. On a Tuesday in late March 1981, the story of Daniel Milland came to its final, violent end. His body was discovered by his roommates in his West Los Angeles duplex. He was 41 years old. He lay on his bed with a .22 caliber survival rifle beside him. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office swiftly ruled the death a suicide by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. No note was found. Daniel had left the world without a final word, leaving only the brutal facts of his demise to speak for him. The silence from the deceased was met with a corresponding and equally profound public silence from his father. A spokesman for the then 74-year-old Ray Milland delivered a brief, stark statement. The actor would have no comment on his son's death. This public stoicism, typical of his generation of stars, belied what later accounts would describe as a deep and devastating private grief. But at the time, the world saw only a wall of reticence. In a final heartbreaking twist, Daniel's tragic end was immediately framed by the press as the latest violent death to strike the family of a Hollywood celebrity, placing it within a grim, ongoing public narrative. Number 1. Victoria Milland. In stark contrast to the public, tragic trajectory of her brother, the life of Victoria Milland is a study in quietude, privacy, and a remarkable, successful retreat from the public eye. Victoria Francesca Milland was adopted by Ray and Muriel Milland. Born around 1946, she was raised alongside her older brother Daniel. Like him, she was part of the Hollywood's happiest family narrative, appearing in carefully managed publicity photos. She is the 7-year-old Vicky in a 1953 family photo from London. Nearly a decade later, in April 1962, she was photographed standing beside her proud father at the Academy Awards. a rare glimpse of the poised teenager in a formal Hollywood setting. Beyond these fleeting public moments, her childhood remains almost entirely undocumented. For decades, Victoria Milland's story seemingly ended with those childhood photographs. Her adult life was a complete mystery. However, a single crucial piece of evidence from 1975 serves as a Rosetta Stone, bridging the gap between her youth as Vicki Milland and her unseen future. On October 15, 1975, Ray Milland was the subject of a tribute on the popular British television show This Is Your Life. The show brought together family and friends to celebrate his career. The archival guest list for that episode provides the key that unlocks his daughter's hidden life. It includes Mal, wife, Danny, son, and Vicki, daughter. But it continues with two more names, Lowell, son-in-law, and Travis, grandson. This brief television credit is the only known public record that confirms, unequivocally, that by 1975, Victoria was married to a man named Lowell Graham and was the mother of a son named Travis. It proves that she had successfully transitioned from her father's world into a new private life of her own. This television appearance was not the beginning of a public life for her, but the last public glimpse before the curtain was permanently drawn.